Hello, everybody. We're live. And we're going to have a good time today. We're kind of celebrating. Um, I see some new names in there. Uh, Cartomancy is not a new name to me. I've actually physically in the flesh met Cartomancy. She lives here in the Dallas area where I do. If I sound a little sniffly, I don't have a cold or anything, but all of our trees have decided to pollinate at once. And it was so bad yesterday when I went out to get in my car, I had to dust off the hood because otherwise your air vent system drags it in and you're breathing like super pollinated air. And I went through all of last spring without feeling scathed by it, but this time I got it. Hi, Anglo. How are you doing? Hope it's you staying warm. Um, yeah, it's really exciting. Fun times. We've got I made it over 4,000 and I waited for a week because sometimes they'll tell you you've got so many subscribers and then they'll go through and they'll take 50 away and you don't know why. So I wanted to make sure it seems to have settled off at the number it's at right now. Unless one of you is in this chat, which I can't imagine how you'd get there. Hi, Three Cats. Prince Charming's mom, Lauren Hunzinger, Teresa, no, Teresa. Oh, I had two H's on top of each other. Hey, Darian, Helen Robinson, Candy Mullen. I'm going to answer your question, Candy. Um, so we're going to start off with one of the things I promised, and I had some of the people who were watching the um, Seven Candles. I was talking about other rituals. And this is another ritual. You can do this one yourself. These are just river rocks that you can like buy at the craft store, or if you live where they have rivers, we don't have a whole lot of those thick on the ground here, at least ones you can get to. You can pull out river rocks and you can see you see the size of my hands. I have small hands, but these are pretty good size. And you stack them up like that. You paint them gold, and there's 8 of them. And you stack them up by your front door, and they actually will bring good chi into your house. 8 in Chinese numbers is like in tarot numbers. It's a number of good. It can be a number of good fortune. And in when I do numerology, I always when I see an 8, I think money and power. And this is something you do. You paint them gold. You stack them next to the right side of your front door. When you're looking at the front door, you put it to the right side. Now, I can't do that because then I'd be putting them in front of my neighbor's door. So I put them to the left, and they seem to work just fine, whether it's to the right or the left. And it's craft store. I hand painted these. If I were to do it again, I would spray paint them but I at the time didn't have a good place to spray paint without the overspray getting all over everywhere. But this is another one of those rituals that I told you about that the elementals keep saying, so many good little rituals, so many ways for them to invite us in, whether you call it chi, whether you call it elemental energy, whether you call it good karma, whether you call it I just feel better. It's all the same thing. You're trying to move good energetics towards you. The other one that's good to do outside of a door or in a space, and especially the elementals like this, they love wind chimes. That really draws the air elementals towards you. And and yeah, and it comes out of feng shui, and it's just a fun thing. They also it's called a mountain of gold in that world. Um, the other thing you can do with the mountain of gold is you can build one actually in your house, and you can put candles around it and also try to attract abundance into your household. So that's another way to do this. Anyway, so yeah, your stones. Actually, I have to bring mine in once a year, and patch up. You need to try and keep them as gold as you can, because if they get chipped and old looking and stuff, they're not nearly as effective. I have actually had Amazon drivers knock at my door till I came and answered to ask me what the hell were the stones. And then one young man, I ended up giving him a small Amazonite crystal because he was on such a tight schedule with Amazon. It was getting him freaky and nervous. And I don't know if he stayed in the job. We don't always have the same Amazon drivers, so I don't really know. But anyway, they catch people's eye. Every time I go by them, I feel brighter because I know it's there. Now, we did have some questions, and we're going to go through these. And I'm going to run that. Okay. And once again, that thing's called Another Way to Change Your Energy. Use a Mountain of Gold. Okay. And then T. Jones asks, congratulations on reaching 4,000. Thank you. Thank you. How is the ley line gentleman from Africa, his name is Johan, doing? Has he resumed his ley line repairing? I apologize for not remembering his name. It's okay. You don't have to. Johan went on maternity leave. He had gone through one of those situations where when you work with the kind of energy he works with energies in conflict. I don't choose to do that, but he ran into a bad spate before they found out his wife was pregnant. So his guides gave him a pass until Liam, his son, was born in February. And Liam and his wife were all happy and together, and they're in a different housing situation. And he's ready to go back to work. And, I don't know how, I presume since the majority of my viewers are women, and a lot of them have talked about their children, you know what it's like when you have a new baby first at home. You need all hands on deck. But anyway, he's going to be coming back on. He wrote me a week and a half ago because I have knitted a baby blanket for him and I needed his address. I'm going to be sending his baby blanket to him, and he and I are going to be getting together in the next week to decide how to move forward with presenting the information that he and I now have on the ley lines and how to coordinate with each other. Along the same vein, different name, different country, Tim Walter from England, who I had on my show, who does house clearings, and he studies earth energies and ley lines in England. And he has some really interesting shows on YouTube. I'm going to be talking with Tim next week about they're having a conference in a very beautiful part of England on house clearings. It's going to be a 3 or 4 day conference over kind of a long weekend. And I'm going to try and get all the information from him, because if you've never been to England, it might be a charming way to go see the country, to meet some like-minded people. I don't know if anybody's interested in it. I'm just interested in having the information to get it to people. And the woman who's going to be running that conference is all she does is house clearings. That's what her specialty is. So we're going to go see that, go see him about that. And I'm going to try to do a show with Tim. He's had some really interesting guests on recently, and I'm trying to track down a couple of them. I found a woman that he interviewed last week that I think is my soulmate, when she was talking about how she reads and what she does. And she considers running her channel, getting a PhD in the world of woo, which is kind of how I feel about it. That's why I jump from topic to topic and place to place and figure out how things go. I can't see any of your chat because I'm trying to answer questions. I'll go back and catch up on that in a second. Now, Candy, a charter school principal in Florida, was fired over objections from 3 parents for allowing the art history lesson on the Renaissance that was included the statue of David as artwork. And Candy had a further question, but it wouldn't fit on because you're limited to the number of characters you can have. And basically, it was public versus these charter schools. I have experience with both. My two older children that are in their 40s, they went to public school. They went to a public school near me that was supposed to be a Montessori, but it wasn't. Um, it was masquerading as such. But and my oldest son had a learning disability, and he had a teacher who didn't know how to understand that. I had to go get him tested and figured out what was going on. He was not functionally literate till he was a teenager, and he had to leave this part of the country and go to Guam with his father and go to schools in Guam. And in Guam, they tested him and they told his dad, "Your son's absolutely brilliant, but he really can't read functionally." And my ex, being who he was, said, "Did my bitch wife tell you that? Because she kept dragging him to doctors, and there's nothing wrong with my boy." And the teacher, the principal of the school, didn't even try to do anything with my ex. He called Sean in and said, "Can you get a hold of your mother and give her my phone number and have her call me?" And so I called him and I said, "Yes." And he said, "What's going on?" And I told him that from the age of 9 on, I was taking Sean to different people because there are 23 different ways to encode to read in the English language. But the biggest problem was, at the time Sean was in school, was they were teaching whole word method. And Sean had an ADHD problem, but he wasn't kinetically hyper. In other words, he didn't bounce around in his chair. It was actually in his brain. And he could only read so many letters, and then his brain would blank, and then he'd see the rest of the word. And there's a real name for this thing. But anyway, if they had taught him to read phonetically, he would not have had this problem. And I sent all the paperwork I'd collected over the years to the doctor, to the head of his school, and they put him in English as a second language, because in Guam, kids come from all over the world and they have all different levels of English skills. And even though English was his primary language, he couldn't read it. And in that class, he went in a year from being functionally illiterate to being ready to go to college, because he finally learned how to unencode the words. So that's my story. Now, my daughter made it through public school because she's too stubborn to do anything else, and she could read before she got there. And she did okay. And she earned a full scholarship to a women's college, and she did all right. By the time I had my second family, which was 14 years after the first one, my husband and I, he was preemie. He was very small. And so they kept testing him once, to make sure he didn't have failure to thrive and all that stuff. We had really good insurance. And that poor baby saw more specialists. And one of the things that did happen to him is he got a bad cold. It had blocked his hearing, his ears, and we didn't know he wasn't hearing us because he'd already gotten linguistically far enough along and he could kind of follow along with us. So at the age of 2.5, I found out from the pediatrician that he wasn't profoundly deaf, but he had blocked tubes. They didn't do the eardrum thing. They did another thing where they made all his sinuses run and they unplugged his ears. And it was so funny because we realized the day he could really hear everything, all these noises that had been around him all of his life, he startled at everything because he wasn't used to hearing. And what that did for the youngest child, who's now Susan, it made her she absorbs everything visually and can see and program and type like the wind and do all kinds of stuff. She's absolutely brilliant. And some of that, I think, comes from not really being able to hear us. She could read newspapers. By the time she was 3.5, she could read the text in newspapers. And it's, if you think, oh, it'd be so great to have a kid who does that. No, it's not. This is back in the old-fashioned days when they listed movies in the newspaper, I'd say, "Oh, honey, the theaters are too far from us for that movie." She'd go, "No, they're not." She could open up the newspaper, find the movie, find which theaters it was listed by, then go find the theater, the listing time. And because she hung with us so much, she drove around with us when we were doing our business, and she knew where everything was in Dallas. So it's not a blessing. But she went on, she's done very well. But when her dad got sick, we had to put her in a charter school because there wasn't a public school around us that really wanted to take her because she could already do calculus. So we found a charter school that was attached to the community college so they could get her accelerated courses as she needed them. And the reason she could do calculus because she was homeschooled by her father, who was a theoretical mathematician. She did not learn the calculus from me. Don't even think that. Anyway, she went to the charter school. She was valedictorian of her class. She was great guns. Her senior year, she got a teacher who was tired of the fact that it was a 90% minority school, that this one kid was doing so much better. So the teacher started failing her, and it was an English teacher. And she kept claiming that Susan wasn't turning her work in. Well, I had students that were in class with Susan. They were telling me she was turning the work in. And I couldn't figure out what was going on with this woman. But Susan got really depressed and didn't want to go to school. And, was because she felt like she was failing and she couldn't figure out why. And you don't call adults liars, although that one I did. Anyway, I called, she'd already been accepted at 3 universities. And I said, if Susan doesn't finish high school and get a diploma, what happens? And they said, she gets a GED, we're still going to take her because we got all her test scores. She's ready to come here, go to school here. So Susan's older sister drove down to the high school that day, the charter school, walked in and said, Susan's withdrawing. Well, they followed out to oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. And I talked to teachers later that were really upset I'd done that. But I didn't want Susan to hate school. And there's nowhere to go in a charter school. When we started Susan in that charter school, it was being run by a university near here, Austin College. And it was a lab school for them to try different curriculums. Well, finally, they'd had a new conservative, DeSantis would love them people, show up at that school and take it over. And when I tried to talk to them about the situation that's going on with Susan, they wouldn't hear it. I mean, you have, as a parent with a child in a charter school, they're telling you have more control. No, you don't. Now you just have a curriculum that you may or may not have control over, teachers that are absolutely not responsive. And one of Susan's science teachers was trying to teach creationism. So you have less control with the charter school. In a public school, I would know how to go up the chain of command in the DISD and who to talk to. Charter school, I had nothing. So both the schools have good and bad things about them. Dallas currently has 2 of the top public high schools in the public high schools in the country, math and science and theater arts and arts in general, all kinds of art. And those 2 schools are really wonderful. So that's my argument. And then I'm going to get off my school kick. When people say, oh, we just can't throw money at schools. Yeah, we can. If you throw the money at the schools, they'll produce the kids. Trust me. They're doing it at some campuses here. Makes a whole big change. And then this is my last one, cartomancy. I will do this today because I'm celebrating, and I'll talk about it. TFG, the former guy. I think he'll be indicted sooner rather than later. I think there's some weird shenanigans going on between the prosecutors on who goes first and what they want to do, because there is kind of delay that can get caught if he's involved in too many cases. But yes, and not only the former guy, but I think they're going to go after the Congress people that they should have gone after a long time ago. So let me go see if there's anybody who has a question in here. Hi, Carol. New member. Yay. Yeah, I'm going to try to drop in. I'm changing kind of what I do. I'm going to do some of what I did before, but I always really try tried to give new ideas and teach people a lot of things that I do to help me weather all this storm. Because quite honestly, a couple days this week when my breathing was really crappy and I didn't want to get stressed out, I watched and did other things and recovered from doing the 9 candles. Let's see, Freddie's looked up there. I'm going to try and be on twice a week. I'm going to have a day that's just readings. It's going to be open forum. I will read for people, read the garden, read cards, read the pendulums. And when I do those things, then I'll explain kind of how I work with those tools. And then I'll try to have a guest speaker on or someone else to talk about other things. And if you guys have any suggestions, please feel free to throw them in and let me know what they are. Okay, now, how do you get a free grid? Okay, 12 cases, Nancy Jean. I don't know what that means. You're going to have to give me a better idea. Okay, do you think storms release negative energy on the earth? No, I think they help dispel energy. Have you ever seen the upper part of the clouds when there's a really bad lightning storm? What the space station's seeing? There's as much. Oh, okay. Thank you, Rose Blue. I got your explanation. There's as much lightning above the clouds as there is below the clouds. The lightning goes both directions. And I think it's a way that the earth corrects itself or it resets its energies. But remember, one of the things that's been happening since 2017 is the photonic energy that's been hitting the earth. The subatomic particles are much greater. And so they're not much greater just on hitting the earth. We're absorbing them. The earth's absorbing them. The rocks are absorbing them. And they know that in the past, sorry about that, allergies. In the past 13,000 years ago, we were passing through this same part of the universe. And they kept seeing in the rocks these records of where something was invading the earth and it was changing the rocks. I mean, the crystals within the rocks. So then they went back and they looked back 12 to 13,000 years before that. They found the same thing. And this goes way back, way back. And that's the first time I'd ever heard about this photonic energy hitting us. It was with regards to crystals and stones. And because of where we were in our own evolution, it probably did upgrade our DNA quicker than it would have if we all sat around waiting for the Darwinian view of it. So what I say about it is we're consider it an upgrade, but I think the storms in the earth, well, you can tell it. And I'm sure Engla could give us all she lives in Finland, could give us a lesson on this, that the northern lights have just been spectacular this year because the subatomic particles are also hitting the sun and they're also setting off more solar flares. And Rose Blue, okay, there's 12 cases against the former guy, and they're kind of racing to the finish line to see who goes first. But Rose Blue, one of the things that was amazing, I started just falling off just dropping off in the middle of the day and sleeping much, much longer, usually when the planets are doing weird things and there's big energy shifts. I can't take Allegra, JJ. allergies. I've got an allergy to that too, so I'm screwed. Um, when the energies are changing among the planets, I stay up. It wakes me up. It makes me more alert. This time it put me to sleep, and I'd already committed to doing the candles. Okay, I got like Emily's question. Got it. When I was so when I put the 9 candles together, I was talking all the readers almost to a single one said, "Oh my God, is that's why I've been so tired," because it really, really does work. That it was just exhausting all of us, and we all felt like we were getting upgrades, downloads, getting hit from every side. So, but so all you can do is rest it. That's what my guides told me. They said you just have to rest. And so he says, I don't know physically, I don't know the physics behind blue lightning. I just know we're going through a whole lot of changes right now. And that could be causing it. Will I ever own my own business? Okay, we're going to go to the garden. I'm going to get my stones that should be out by my doorstep off of my garden. And let's see, will I ever own my own business? This way. Okay. Okay. Oops. We're going to just toss you. No, you don't. For some reason, your grounding stone, I think that I'm going to tell you how I read that. You got real interesting reading here because you've got your clarity is in your heart. And when a stone falls in the heart, that's always where I start when I'm reading it. And you can't see it, but that's where your clarity is because your little will I ever own my own business is over it. And it says, you need to be real clear about your emotions and what you're willing to commit to doing this. And then all the rest of them are over here. And I would say if you're working on building it right now, you're either going to build it or you're going to get a complete understanding of what you need to do this spring before summer. And what I see your mind's in your third eye. You have some really strong intuitions about what you should be doing with this right now. And there's something that's come up to you really, really, really in just the last little bit saying this is where you need to go because your mind isn't present. Your spirit is in the future. It's not quite ready. It's not quite completely baked. You don't have you're not completely attached to it. And that's what I'm going to talk about. This stone that flew out, that's your grounding stone. And when that just sort of flies off the thing, it means you're not completely grounded in exactly what you want to do, but your body's in air. So your body is definitely moving that direction. And it also says ground your thoughts. So if you want to, I think you have the possibility of owning your own business, but what you need to do is you're getting some strong intuitions about what you want to go ahead and do. But I think by the end of this spring, you're going to be ready to move on. And then your heart and exactly how to bring it about is coming in the summer. And actually, this stone tumbled out of the summer, early fall part of the chart. This thing you can tell time, winter, spring, summer, fall. So that's the answer to your question. I hope it helps, Emily. Okay, is that everybody? Okay, everybody's here. Okay. Let me see if anybody else has chimed in. I don't know about. I'm afraid I'm a Northern Hemisphere nerd. I know what happens up here. Okay. One of my astrologers, and I know there's a couple I saw in the chat. If you know more about this than I do, I know that when 5 planets start getting all lined up together, it brings brings big changes, but I didn't, I just don't know about where they are. And I think that's really a what's in your chart thing because of where they hit. And one of my pieces of advice to everyone is if you want to learn astrology, get your own chart done and then pick an element and find it. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't know where to go find stinging nettle. I'm sure it's in a store somewhere, but thank you, Libra lady. I'm going down. Oh, here we go. My cat Zane was diagnosed with hyperthyroid. Will he get better, adjust, or is he preparing to say goodbye? Okay, I'm going to do that with cards. I have a real soft spot for cats, in case you haven't noticed from some of the stuff I post. We have a cat that got one of those awful diseases you get that's supposed to kill you. And he's been living with me for 4 years. It's my daughter's cat. So we're going to ask about Zanes Health. And is still kicking. He's still skinniest black cat you've ever seen in your life, but apparently doesn't bother him. Somebody forgot to tell him he's supposed to be that sick. That can happen. Let's see. I'm going to have to, I'm going to do, will he get better? Because I think that's a better question. And I like positive questions. Oh, yeah. You just got five yeses. Well, yeah, you did get 5. This is 1, 1, 2, 1. This is a past. This is that he was laying low. You took him in because he was really fatigued. He's rallying now. He's never going to be as lively and as run around as he was. He's going to take things in temperate, but that frees him from the prison of not feeling well. So he's adjusting to it. So if you can get him to take the right meds. I had a Sheltie once that could smell meds if they were in the house. She was not happy. When will I be able to met who? Okay. Okay. You're all over the map, but I see spring, summer, fall. You kind of have a variety of choices, but I'll tell you what the situation around getting the house is going to be. And it may be sooner rather than later because your spirit stone ended up in the crown tree of life. You haven't found a place you feel really, really warm about, but you did have this in true. And when the spirit ends up in true, it's your spirit's working in harmony with the plan. You just haven't found exactly the place that your spirit feels totally safe in. But you've got your clarity is in water, and you're just going to be compelled to move into the situation. You're just going to see it one day because you have your grounding stone. Mental actions are part of your abundance to getting to this point. Your body's in fire. You keep running into places that remind you of places you've been before, but they don't make you really, really happy. So we're going to go, the path forward is your mind. And I think that's where we're going to find the answer to this. You're watching for the signs. I don't think you've seen the house yet. But I think you're going to have a lot of opportunities to look at it. And it's not when can I buy a house, it's when you find the house, everything will fall together for you to get it. But I think spring and summer are going to be good for you to go looking. Okay. Okay, we're going to look for you for Gypsy JJ, April 13th. It's very specific. Come on guard. Okay. Well, the one I'm going to read is the outlier, and your grounding is in go for it. And all things that are happening that day are going to be aligned with your values. So it's going to be a good place for you to be. You're going to need to keep your thoughts really grounded that day. But you've got, if it's new planets, they're emerging from something that seemed false at one point, but your spirit and your clarity are emerging out of the earth. The earth is where things emerge from. This is the past lives or things that happen in the past in this life. This is thoughts moving off and streaming in air, and this is water, things that are beginning to wash away and go through that transition. So you've got clarity in earth. You will have many paths ahead of you, but the correct one will appear to you, and I think that's this one. You'll see it and you'll know it. And you've got spirit. Your spirit's transforming. It's not yet finished today, but I'm going to see where your mind is since it's in the fire. Don't be tied to the false energies of the past. So the way I would put all this together is you're going to be, by that day, which is just about 2 weeks away, you're going to completely in charge of understanding what you do, what's going to happen for you that's favorable. Your body needs to be tied to it, the clarity and your spirit. And I think you're going to go on and do something something interesting that day, but you're still transforming. You're still transmuting your energy. So look at it that way. But it looks good. Okay, we're getting an answer. Pisces has Neptune in it. Mercury is in Aries, along with Chiron and Jupiter. And Venus and Uranus meet up today and tomorrow. The last one is important for Taurus and Libras. Oh, yeah, I've had Uranus has been all over my signs, but I'm a Taurus. Yeah, I heard Molly McCord. I don't know if you ever listened to her. She does a long-term podcast thing. She doesn't draw you pretty pictures or anything, but she's real interesting to listen to. And she was talking about that. But I was also driving my car, so. Can I explain Earth 2? Earth 2 is energetically a place where we feel calmer and we feel more in touch with the whole universe. I went through my initiation towards Earth 2 a little over a year ago. And you know how people say they were meditating and all of a sudden, what? They felt in touch with the universe. Well, that was sitting in this chair, not this exact chair, because I've traded chairs since then because that chair broke. But I was sitting here and I was thinking about my whole path from being a weird little kid that saw things other people didn't see, and how I always had adults that came up and protected me because my mother was not terribly fond of that idea. And I always had adults there that kept saying, nope, you go, including a nun, if you can believe it. I had a nun tell me a story about when she had an entity visit her, and she was seriously thinking, she ran a children's theater program, and she was seriously thinking about abandoning it because it was so slow going. I'll tell you how old this nun was. She could remember members of Al Capone's gang riding past her house in their flashy big cars because they had a vacation house up from where her home was when she was a little girl. So she was a little girl in the 1920s. And she sat me down. She told me this whole long story about how she was really wondering about what she should do. And she was really kind of hurting because there wasn't anybody in the order to talk to about it. They just tell her to go in the corner and pray. So she was painting a flat in the theater late one night, and all of a sudden a man in a top hat, all dressed to the nines to go to the theater, with a big scarf. She had this very lovely silk scarf on. And he looked at it and he said, Sister Mary Fernanda. And she looked up, and this guy walked out of the flat she was painting. And she said, yes. And he said, you're a fool, but you're going to make it. So don't give up on yourself. And then he walked off stage. And so she ran backstage to see if there was some strange man in the convent. And he wasn't there. I said, Sister Mary, why are you telling me this? And she says, because you see things like that. So, I mean, all my life, guys. So I was just sitting here and I was thinking about all the people and the wonderful people I'd met and some of the ugly stuff I'd gone through getting from here to there. And all of a sudden, I can't explain exactly how it worked, but in front of me was like the universe was spread out. And I understood how my part fit in that universe, and that universe would never let me down. And that all the marvelous people and all marvelous support I've had from my channel that was supporting me. And I'll tell you the truth, before that day, I had an incredible fear of being alone. I mean, almost neurotically fearful of being on my own, going anywhere on my own. I can remember I was in my 40s before I ever went and ate in a restaurant by myself because I was so afraid of being alone. And all I could feel was all this warmth and love, and that I was connected to it, and the universe is connected to me, and that you can never be alone. I think living on Earth 2 is understanding you're never alone. That's Earth 2 to me. Now, some other person might have another Earth 2. I don't have it. That's, if I was going to look for Earth 2, that's where I'd go. Yeah, this is true. Andre Carr just did a show on, and I love Andre Carr's Astrology Alert because he's so quick, and he points out very clearly why Trump is in all kinds of trouble. Okay. I'm going to warn you guys, if you put your questions in caps, I see them more easily. But I will do this for Prime 3. Okay. General reading for Prime 3. We'll look at your next 3 months. Ooh, okay. Most of the action for you is going to be after the summer. It's going to be in the summertime. You got a lot of fun stuff coming up, though. You've got your body is right in the middle of all the elements. So you must be feeling like a lot of stuff's. When your body's in the middle of all the elements, it means ground your thoughts, embody your past. Physical changes are coming. Oh, you can't see the garden. How sad for me. Okay. This is where your body is. It says physical changes are coming. So you need to really get grounded so that you can take the most advantage of those physical changes. And then the other interesting stone is your spirit, which, for those of you who don't know my garden well, this is an amethyst. That's a fusite. This is an amethyst, and it falls between the third eye and present. And for the third eye, it says spirit helps you with vision that you can even see around the corners. You're going to be able to run circles and see what's happening before it even gets here. And those signs and clues are present for you right now. You're feeling the shift. You're feeling the shift that's happening in your body very much. Now, your path forward is in your mind. And when your mind shows up, it says you need to be open and watch for all the signs. Now, what's emerging? Your grounding and your clarity. The grounding stone in this case is a pyrite, and the clarity is a sodalite. This is a orange yellow calcite. So your pyrite says to you that more is just about to be brought forward to you, and your clarity stone is saying you're going to have several choices, but you're going to make the right choice because you're going to have grounded yourself and you're willing to make these changes. Physical changes also can mean physical changes. They can mean losing weight, feeling better. If you've been down in the dumps, sweetie lumps, you'll feel better. Go for that. But yeah, you've got, and I said 3 months, and this shows that this summer and fall are going to be really important to you about improving your own health. And I don't know if you know you have something you need to work on. I start physical therapy tomorrow because my legs have gotten weak again after my knee surgery. I got strong enough so I could do pretty much everything I wanted to. Well, I fell down about a month and a half ago, and I could not get up no matter what I did. I could not work my way to a place where I could get up. And so it took me a little time to finally decide. And I am now going to start physical therapy to learn how to get up off the floor. Because if you don't know it, that's one of the it's one of the physical signs that your body is really falling apart faster than you know. And I don't want mine to do that. So now that's not this woman's problem. It's Pauline. Am I on the right track for the soul mission on my own or with a partner? Okay, we're going to do this with cards because too many moving parts for the garden to. We're going to do 2 layouts. One on top is going to be you're on the right track for your soul mission. And then the bottom, the next reading below is going to be with a partner. Okay. Okay, is Pauline on the right track for her soul mission? You're very psychic and you are on the right path. I can tell from those 2 cards right there. And you're doing it with your whole heart and you're willing to learn and work with others. So, okay. Is she going to do this on her own? No. Well, yes and no. You're carrying the energy in to do it. These cards are saying, you need the other person there to kind of buck you up and keep you going. So this shows you may have to make a move to get to where the partner is. The biggest problem you have is you get on these kicks and you know where your soul mission is and what you ought to do, but then you kind of forget and you wander off and you don't deal with it. But at the end is the world. So I would say, looking at these cards, you're going to be working with someone because you need their help and direction. It makes you feel stronger and more grounded. I hope that wasn't too quick, but these are your 2 big cards on this one. You have Justice, which means things are moving the right. Well, these 3 actually. Can't believe you got those 3 together. You got Justice, the High Priestess. When we're talking about things that are psychic, means that you're very, very psychic and very, very capable of handling this. And this shows summer, which is where, and it shows that it's going to be then. And it also shows that you do it with your whole heart. So. Oh, she said that the cat has a bit of problem. Yeah, cats don't like meds. Okay. Okay, geographical relocation or a move from the current home this year. Okay. I have to do it as 2 questions because yes and no's can't be decision trees. We can't do this. There's no branch. A yes, no is a yes or a no. So we're going to do geographical relocation for you this year. And then separately, we'll do a move. Oops. You guys were turning in the wrong place. So I'm going to put you on top of this and this on top of this. Okay. Okay, I didn't get a geographical location. It may be either one. So we're going to see a move from your current home. No, I don't see you doing either one, Candy, if that's what you're hoping for. That doesn't mean you can't do it. I'm just saying right now, the way the energies are lined up, what it shows is that the things are happening around you. Something's happening around your job. You're kind of bored and you want to find something else, and it's making you a little bit intemperate. That's why you're asking, should I move? And then you've got about the actual relocation. There's not a place to go that you feel safe. You won't be able to make that move. This card could mean that move, but it's going to be late in the year if you do it. And it's after you give up, let go of some regrets you're holding on to and some people that done you wrong. But, or you have to kind of get into a state of forgiveness for them. But right now, the energies are not lined up that way. If you're concerned about a job, the job situation seems okay. Maybe some other things around it that aren't. Okay, hide. Okay. Okay, John, I'm going to do a twin flame question. I don't like them. For one, I think there's some things people say about twin flames that are exaggerated. I think the biggest thing that keeps you from being with the twin flame that you want to be with is you're not ready for them to be with you. People always, oh, what's going to happen to my twin flame and stuff? And it's really, you have to be the best you can be for them to work it out with you. And I have to find a card in here. There's another one that's twisted funny. Okay. And weirdly enough, it's a card I would put out about twin flame. Twin flame questions. That was a big deal several years ago. And I guess I just never got into it. But I don't know what battles you're battling. Just put this up about your twin flame question because you think it's okay. I'm going to see if I can get any guidance into what's holding you apart. Okay, I think you two were supposed to be together at one point, but it was at a point where both of your lives were changing. That's the 10 of Wands. And when it shows up, it means that a lot's being let go of, okay? And then you sat around crying over spilt milk. You two decided that, I mean, there is some genuine, absolute, wonderful affection between the two of you, but it can't ever hold on, and it can't ever hold on because it's, if you haven't, both of you haven't changed enough to get there. And I'm sorry, John, don't look like anything quick, and I don't see a season card on there either. Glad you were in the chat today. Okay, let's see. Will April 14th be a day of clarity and or change for me? Well, if you can come do my taxes, you can help me get it to that way on April 14th. I'm joking. I will look at your, I don't know what y'all are thinking having in the middle of this month. And I will talk about the Wall Street Journal. Shockwave 43. Oh, crap. Okay, can't use those cards. I'm going to have to switch and get another deck. These cards keep flipping, and I don't like cards that flip. So, that's Oracle. Okay. Okay, we're going to get Life is like a board game. These are based on traditional tarot. If you're looking for that, I'll explain to you what the card actually is. They're a little bit weird, but actually the description, if you don't know how to read cards and you want to learn what cards mean, these are really good because their explanations are extremely good. Okay. We're going to do Shockwave, April 14th, the day of clarity. Something important's happening around you that day. It could be a real tower moment for you. Yes, something could, and it could bring you great clarity. Whatever it is, it's really sparked your interest. This is the Four of Cups, and it says not interested place, but it's reversed. So you're interested, and you're not waiting patiently anymore. You want to push this. It's got something to do with what you ultimately want to achieve in this life, but there's going to be a judgment that's going to be coming down in tower. Whatever it is, it's going to be big, Shockwave. And yes, I would say that the 14th, it's going to be a very interesting day for you. And I think you know what it is because it seems like it had cards around that meant Wall Street Journal being held in Russia. Oh, White House talking about it right now. Yes, arresting journalists is kind of what happened is they're claiming this guy was spying on them and getting some information he shouldn't have been getting. But in actual fact, from what I heard from the Wall Street Journal, the story he had just filed was about how Putin's war is killing the Russian economy. And that's what they really want to shut him up about. So, okay, this is going to be my last question because we're at 57 minutes. Let me see how many more there are. Okay. Okay. Let's see. We're going to do Cynthia here. And I'm going to use the same strange cards, and I hope you can follow them. But they're the easiest to grab from my desk. And if you ever watch me read with Scott on Sundays, this is a good deck. Okay, and next 6 months for Cynthia. Well, you're ready to push things, girl. You're going to be letting go of some bad habits. You're going to be really cleaning things up. You've decided you want the world. You want your own independent way of getting there. In the past, you've struggled to get things that you were interested in, and you're tired of patiently waiting. I think you're letting go of some things you thought you had to control, which is really good. What you fear most in the world, though, is struggling a whole lot. And that's just in hopes and fears. That's not a real thing. I mean, it could be, but it's not. Right now, you don't have all the contacts and things you need to do to move forward with it. But that's going to, and you're stressed out about that. But when you let go of your fears and anxieties, that's what this devil means. You're going to meet the right people. Lovers in this case doesn't mean lovers. It means you're going to be meeting the people you need to complete what I see back here, which is you want to have independence on your own, and you realize that you have to let go of some preconceptions on getting that independence in order to get there. Your next 6 months looks really good if you can let go of having to feel like you have complete control and go with the flow and open your mind up to meeting the people you need to meet to move forward. But mostly what your problem has been you feel like you have to be in control and you don't. Okay, we're going to do this one. Yeah, for some reason, I know what's going on with StreamYard, but I had a woman who wrote her question 6 times. It never showed up. Finally, she wrote to me privately. And I had another person I know pretty well from my groups who went up and down. She said it was never there. It never posted. But I know the lady said she posted the question. So if at first you don't see it, try again. Okay, let's see if Dream Journey is going to be able to avoid going into the 3D world for money to support herself. I think I'd be getting my resume out, girl. You want independence, and you're willing to take the shots to get to there. That's a 5 of Swords. But some things are out of balance, and you don't trust. Part of the problem is you don't trust yourself enough to do it. And whatever you're expecting, the windfall you're expecting is not going to be there soon. Doesn't mean it'll never be there, but look for the best option, even if it's not being employed full time, just to have your foot in the door to help relieve some of the financial pressure. And I think that's it. Yep. Everybody's just saying hi. Okay. I got 2 more. I'm going as far as Amy Gould, who wants to know if she's going to New Orleans, but I'm going to answer one more before that, just because I'm having a good time. Would it be okay and even beneficial to travel this year? Yeah, I think if you like to travel, it's been a real pain in the butt with being locked up and not being. And you say you've had, recently overcome major health issues. Well, good for you. I don't like to travel because I used to work for an airline. I didn't fly like a flight attendant. I worked at headquarters. But every time they wanted someone that did what I did, which was handling money, paying taxes, doing that stuff, they'd stuff me on an airplane and make me fly places. And I ended up stranded in some of the less scenic parts of the U.S., like Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I really don't like traveling. I mean, it did it for me. If I can get in a car and I feel like I have control of it, I'm okay. But I don't like airplanes. I'm not afraid of them. I just don't like them. Okay, see if you will be beneficial to travel this year. Forward movement, gardens, better things ahead, wearily defensive, so you have some second thoughts about it. Future plans, gardens, it's great. And it's got the moon reversed, which means it'll help lift your mood. That's that's the 2 of Wands, the 6 of Swords, better things ahead, leaving here to go to something better. 9 of Wands, you're tired of being where you've been. And if you've been going through a major illness, that's easy to understand. Future plans, garden, is the 3 of Wands. So, yeah, I think it would be great for you to go travel. Now we'll see about the person who wants to go to New Orleans, which is one of my favorite cities. I can drive to New Orleans, so I like going there. Okay. In case you wonder, what is this woman doing? I thought I dropped a card, but I don't. Oh, I see it. Well, it's probably not one you don't care if it's in the deck because it's a depression card. But I got to put it in the deck anyway. Make it work. Not only did I drop it, but I dropped it into the part under my computer that has all the cords. Okay, we're going to find out about New Orleans. It's not looking real good. Something's going to come up for someone and they're not going to be able to get the funds together. The way you were going to go doesn't look like it's going to be really good. Right now, you're planning for it financially, which is a good thing because maybe it's June that's not going to work. Let's see. The people you're planning to go with don't have their act together, but wishes come true. So I don't think you're going in June, but I think you're going. But it's not just going to be June. Okay. And with that, let's see if anybody has a last heartfelt plea. No, not ones that I can answer easily. And I'm not, one person asked about their lungs. I wouldn't ask a question about lungs today the way mine feel for all the money in the world. Just keep meditating and try to breathe. Oh, Candy. Well, double check your subscription now. Okay, now we're going to go to how do we get a free grid? And I'm going to hide current comment. I'm going to do a drawing on the grid. It's going to be based on people that watch this show, and anyone who watches it after, because I get a lot of people who watch my shows, not because people work for a living. Who'd have thunk it? And so you have to comment in the comments below. You have to put the word grid, and that's how I'm going to set it up for YouTube to sort out which names to draw. And then you have to be a subscriber. It won't pick you up unless you are. And I will contact you, and I'm going to give it 5 days out there. And then I will be looking over early next week. If I do I'm probably going to do a Tuesday show. I will announce it on Tuesday also. But you have to, and I'm going to tell you you just get back to me through my email as to who you are. I will notify you by replying back to your comment. And then you have to get back a hold of me through my email. And I'll give you a couple days to do that because people do live other lives. If you don't get back to me in time, then I will go to the next name. If you've not seen one of my grids, I can show you what this is a grid I built this last December for the world. And I wasn't being pretentious by building a grid for the world. Tim Walter, who I talked about, who does energy clearing in England, he asked me, why have you never built a grid for the world? So I built it for the world. And it explains what all the stones mean. This is supposed to be the way I would use stones to visualize the Merkaba. And it's for the world to have a complete new awakening. And we fired it up. I fired it up with the Danny Shea, Dr. Gail, and Jeffrey Ripecolor on New Year's Eve. And we did it at 6:00 Central Time, which is midnight in England, where the Englishman who asked me about this came from. So that's what a grid looks like. Grids look all sorts of ways. You can go to my website, crystaldirections.com, and see all kinds of grids. There's about 90, some of them posted on there. And these are individually made for you. We will use the cards and use all the stuff to get it made. But it's individuated to your energy at the time we pull the cards. And Dozen Cats, hi. It was lovely to see you. And Silver Lining, I'm glad you're well. That's my husband healed from that too, that kind of cancer. And I will be probably reading next Not Pauline, you have to put the grid in the comments below this when it closes. There's a place where you can type comments, not comments right now. And Valerie and all the other people who said grid right now. This chat does not get picked up by my comments below. So anyway, so that's glad you all came. And I'm like I said, I'm going to try each week to look at a different set of tools or look at something that we do differently so that we can all go through this time of change really well. I've been woken up with a big, huge download on where my channel is supposed to go, what I'm supposed to talk about. And Earth 2, for the person who put that question in, that was one of the questions that they said I'm supposed to start answering for people. You keep saying we're going to change. When's it going to change? And it is the most marvelous and peaceful change when it hits you. But thank you all for being here today. Thank you for the people who posted questions. That really helps me structure the show. And I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. Bye.